The journey into resilience and why I think I'm so interested in this topic really starts with my first business, which I did right out of college. We went through YC. It was off to a great start, and it died in less than 2 years, which is, it is not uncommon, but still shocking as a young person who's ambitious and thinking they're hot stuff to go through that sort of a failure so quickly. And it wasn't even that we ran out of money. A lot of companies say, we ran out of money, what are you going to do? The market shifted from under us. We tried to pivot. We spent a bunch of time trying to come up with new directions to go in, and we just couldn't settle on something that we all believed in. I think we were all really afraid to pick something because what if we fail again? And as a result, we shut down and had to return money to investors, which is not the point. Right? The point is to try to use that money to generate a big return, and we couldn't even do that. I felt pretty ashamed, honestly, and embarrassed, and I even left the Bay Area where I was, and I moved to DC and then to New York, and spent a bunch of time like trying to grapple with that and build up a new sense of myself. I worked in marketing. I tried to break into product. I struggled to do that. Eventually got in. Got laid off at one point, was sued in a really frustrating copyright troll situation and had to pay out a bunch of money off of that, and slowly found my way into something, a second company where, again, we hit a wall. But then this time we were actually able to make a pivot happen and pivot into a new area and eventually get acqui-hired, soft landing into Facebook as it was at the time, and now Meta. And while at Meta, encountering a different sort of resilience because the company is like very chaotic, very intense, a lot of change happening all the time. And as I've been writing about resilience for my own newsletter, writing for Fast Company, starting to coach, and working with teams and people inside of Meta, like just really seeing the need and the importance for how we adapt, how we navigate change, and like actually getting through that and not just like surviving, but coming through stronger out of it.
That makes perfect sense. That journey, there's so many twists and turns and so many ups and downs that I think we could go into. I think I'm curious. It sounds like one of the first big challenges that you mentioned was not running out of money, but like not having the first idea not work and not being able to figure out what to do next, and then feeling enough shame that you left San Francisco and moved to DC and then moved to New York, all that kind of stuff. I'm curious, is that the time where you started to think about the word resilience, or was there some other word in your mind or some other set of things that you felt like you needed or were having to deal with? And what were some of the things that you started to experiment with at that time?
At the time, the word resilience wasn't top of mind for me. I had failed in this startup, and it wasn't like I'd never considered the possibility, but it was a failure of not even completing the try, which was itself frustrating. And moving was a result of, I want to change your environment. I want to reset to some degree my social network and not be, oh, this guy who was working on a thing and then it didn't work out, and that being the intro to my story. And we talk about own your story as one of the resilience rules. So I think I had this instinctual feeling that I wanted to tell a different story about myself.